Yeah, let me hear the howl!
There it is,
That's
baby.
That's right. Welcome to episode 21 of Mindful Warrior.
Is it episode 21?
I think so.
Amazing.
Jed? Yeah. I'm Nate
Amazing.
Jackson. With me, as always, is Eben Britton and Jed Bauer, Gandalf the Grey. We don't have any guests today. We're going to jump right into some stuff we were talking about last week about healing. And we want to know, as we get into these discussions, not just how professional athletes heal. We want to know how everyone heals, whether you're a veteran, whether you're an engineer, and you got carpal tunnel syndrome. We want to know how you healed from that. We're trying to figure out, what pain management's all about, what harnessing our power in the real world is all about. But something Eben and I were just talking about, specifically near and dear to our hearts, is life after, for a former football player specifically, but athlete. And you've been out for 3 or 4 years now?
This will be my 4th year out.
So before that, you had played football for, 15 years, essentially? Or
10 plus years.
Plus years.
Yeah.
Honed your craft.
Yep.
Everything you studied was football related.
Essentially, yeah.
Every physical act you did was in preparation for football technique and moves.
My whole vision was just entrained on making it to the NFL.
And that takes a physical dedication that is unparalleled in kind of the real world type of thing, as far as the weights you lift, the food you eat, and the hours you devote to this craft. On top of that, the only language you spoke, really, when you were there was football.
Yeah.
Which is a very detailed, incredibly detailed language that if, the layman were to walk in to an NFL meeting room and sit there, he wouldn't understand a word that's being said.
No.
Not one word.
No.
And even the Stephen A. Smiths and Skip Baylesses, the so-called experts, they wouldn't understand a word that's being said.
No.
So it's a very detailed language. All of that makes you really, really good at football, and all of that makes you really, really bad at everything else outside of that when it all ends. Tell us what some of the struggles have been for you in the real world.
I was definitely a guy who thought I was going to have it figured out when I was done playing. My junior year of high school, before that, my sophomore, maybe even my freshman year of high school, I really fell in love with writing and the idea of writing. My sophomore year of high school. And I read a few books by this writer named Bret Easton Ellis, and I read in the back panel that one of the books that was a bestseller he had written called Less Than Zero. He had written over 2 weeks in a creative writing workshop, and it spawned this idea of, I could major in creative writing at these colleges that are coming to, recruit me to come play football. Maybe I can find one that has creative writing as a major. And that happened. Arizona came along. Arizona has one of the best creative writing programs in the country. Love saying that. It was a great experience, and I think the writing culture there is very deep and very profound.
So how'd you find being in writing class at the same time you're playing this incredibly barbaric sport that doesn't want your words?
It was a really interesting dichotomy because while all my teammates were in similar classes, frequently I was the only guy going to these creative writing classes or English classes or whatever it might have been that was part of my creative writing program. I was always the only football player in there. And it was a really interesting experience to be this outsider coming into this very sensitive, very introspective world of these writers, or aspiring to be writers, and these professors who were much more used to dealing with those types of kids rather than a big football player coming in there.
Yeah.
I loved it though.
Yeah.
It fed my soul in a way that football didn't. Obviously, it completed the whole. It was the other side to the brute force and the volatility. There was also this sensitivity, this very deep, calm, serenity laying there under the surface in writing.
I found a lot of the similar things that you said about writing while playing football. I didn't take classes in college. I didn't take creative writing classes. I was a newspaper writer, but then I wrote for the Broncos website while I was there. And I found it also though, it had some contradictive effects. Like it was it put me into turmoil sometimes because I would actually, when you write, you have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
You cannot lie to yourself when you're writing, or else you're not going to be any good at it. So the more you write, the more you kind of start seeing things inside of your psyche that you'd never really addressed before, or you didn't acknowledge, or you never put words to.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that had to do with football and the sacrifice that I was doing, putting my body through. At the same time I'm writing about it, I often found myself writing, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Right. It gave you that perspective. It pulled you out of it for a moment to look at it and go, "Wow, what the fuck am I doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Listening to these guys fucking screaming at people for not blocking the right dude or for taking the wrong footwork. It's absurd.
Or running 45 yards down on a kickoff and running heads first into a fucking wedge.
Smashing.
A wedge of three dudes like you holding hands.
Yeah. But, I say all that. I say all of this because looking back, I was like, when I'm done playing, I'm going to be a writer. That's what I'm going to do. And I got done playing. I finished my second year in Chicago. It felt really apparent even during that year that my time with football was coming to an end. I found myself in meetings going, what am I doing here? Asking that question, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm busting my balls. Nobody gives a fuck about it. You know what I mean? There isn't a soul in this room.
Yeah, but what about all the fans up in the stands who are wearing the jerseys? They care about you.
Let's not get into that, man. Of course, yeah. They care about seeing the guys, It's not, they don't give a shit about, how much your body hurts and what you're putting yourself through for the last 10 years. Your broken back, your shoulders.
Yeah, but you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game.
Right. And that's supposed to fill the void.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying it doesn't.
It doesn't. Well, we're more than that, man.
Yeah.
We're more than that. That's the trick. That's
the humanity
trick that they wanted to pull on us.
That's the trick that helps sell this game, is sucking the humanity out of the individuals who play it.
Right.
They're not real. Their pain is not real. Television production is in on the scam.
These guys are getting paid millions of dollars, folks. What the fuck do they have to complain about?
Aside from that, the physical reality of a game, if a guy gets knocked the fuck out on the sideline, the camera goes away from him. They pull him off the field, and it's on to the next play. If there's guys on special teams who get knocked out, crippled every fucking game, and the TV cameras won't show them, there's a reality happening down on the field that is kept from people, and I think that helps sell the game.
Absolutely.
And
it's the Disney-fying of it.
Yeah.
It's the Mickey Mousing of it.
But actually,
that's what we're doing. We're tearing that down.
Yeah,
that's
those fans though.
What this is about.
I don't want to say that all fans are shitty, because they're not. There's a lot of
fans are beautiful, man.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful part of the world,
And there is support out there for multi-dimensional athletes, guys who are artists, guys who have something to say, guys who have some ideas. When I did write for the Bronco Journal, I didn't have a huge fan base following me, but there were, some fans who were really appreciative of that and wanted to see that. And I feel like teams could foster that more.
Well, that's why you were a fan favorite.
Exactly, because I tried to reach out and touch them,
Absolutely.
And express ourselves. The voices of these guys, the identity issues that you were talking about, the voices, who am I as a person, and why can I not say what I feel while I'm in that bubble about anything? You're not allowed to have an opinion. And
well, I think that is the spell that we're all put under as we enter that domain of the NFL. Because really, you look at every single guy on those NFL teams every single week lining up on the sideline. Those guys have so much power with their voices, with their platforms, where they are. If they were to seize it, they could get anything done.
Anything.
They could have anything, any vision they wanted to happen, they can make it happen if they only knew how to utilize their voice and their power at their platform the proper way, and they realize their strength there. Because guys don't. It's like you said, there's this feeling of I can't really speak the truth, I can't speak the truth because I'm getting paid so much money, and God, I keep getting told it's about humility, and I got to be humble, and I don't want to overstep my bounds. But that's bullshit, because there's a lot to be done in this world, and those guys, especially in the league, just beginning with the league, guys should have lifetime health insurance. It should not be a disaster to get your line of duty benefit when you leave the league if you've suffered back injuries and neck injuries and shoulder injuries, multiple surgeries. It should not be a fucking labyrinthian process to get that money.
Yeah.
Which is crucial to guys.
For those of you out there listening that don't understand the depth of the difficulty that healthcare poses for former players, we don't have any healthcare provided by the league. After 5 years, you're done, and then you're on your own. And trying to file for workers' comp or line of duty, which is a potential benefit, or the concussion settlement, for example, it's just like jumping through hoop after hoop.
All hoops.
Red tape, lawyers, predatory lawyers.
Call this person.
Coming after you for percentages of everything, and it's a headache for guys who don't have the ability or the skills to decipher that shit, because we're in the football bubble where all we learned was how to speak football.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these guys need to be taught the language of the real world before they get into the real world. It's like it's like taking a guy out on a boat who's never swam before, taking him into the rough waters, throwing him in the water, and saying, "Yeah, buddy, move your arms.
Move your arms.
And if you have any trouble, call this number.
You're going to be okay.
We'll help you if you call us, but you got to learn to move your arms first."
No, move your arms.
The reality of guys after the fact is that they're struggling to stay afloat in life.
Yeah, guys have
Every
lost
day,
their identity.
It's about, like we were talking about on the way over, some days are just very, very dark. And some days turn black for no reason.
Yeah.
You can't get any shit done. You can't fucking set up a doctor's appointment and follow through that stuff.
Open the fucking mail.
No.
You don't, to think about what am I going to do with my life in this next step. How the fuck are you supposed to even think about that when you don't have the energy to think about, how to get out of bed in the morning?
It's a problem. And I think a lot of it boils down to language and players who are kept from the language that can empower them. Athletes need to learn to speak how they play. With that type of energy, that personality, that kind of dynamic presence, find the words. We need to teach these people, how to communicate better.
So I went to this, you said something that just made me click into this other thing that happened earlier in the week. I went to this fantastic voice workshop with this guy, Stuart Pierce. He's the voice coach for Obama, Margaret Thatcher, all the great actors. He teaches people how to connect with their voice to project their soul's message. And that's really where he comes from. He comes from this very ancient methodology and belief system that is your voice is the projection of our soul. This is, we've lost this in our technological age of wanting to dive into the computer screen and with our phones and social media, and there's so many distractions that we've lost sight of the fact that our most powerful weapon is our voice. And when it's coming from the heart and we're speaking our soul's true feelings, anything is possible. We can make anything happen,
I mean, that's what they're afraid of.
And what you're saying as players, If these guys could learn to harness their voice, their power would be limitless.
It would. And the owners will suppress that at all costs.
Yeah.
And so will ESPN and the like. They don't want that discussion. They don't want to be superseded. They want their voice to be the last one.
Yeah.
And that's why they have those cameras and those editing tools, and they fucking pump it into the ether.
That's right. And
so that's why,
dude,
the players have to have their own channel.
Yeah.
They have to be developing content.
Channel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Push back, man.
We should have the player channel on
There should be a player channel. There's the NFL Network channel.
Yeah.
It's fucking propaganda for the NFL.
It's about the guys coming together to get it done.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about, what do you think of this idea, transition teams of guys? Like you get put in a team when you leave.
Yeah.
Because,
I love that.
Because you, like we were talking about before, you leave by yourself.
Yeah.
You're alone. Yeah, go to this doctor. Sure. Okay.
Well,
I'm going to walk in by myself. Or go this place and talk to this lady in Indiana who works for this place, who's going to recommend a place here.
And then some guy calls you. And
what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a team where we can like actually
rely on each other.
Yeah.
There's a point man.
Yeah.
Who gets the information from the source, disperses it to the guys.
And you have like team outings.
I love that. I think that's genius.
I could scale it in a way that's not so intimidating. Like, oh, we have to,
That's the type of shit we need, Nate.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back on track. We're fucking on fire today, baby. Ow! 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 Yow! We just came into this thing fucking lit. So what are the issues guys are dealing with? For me, it was a deep sense, a loss of identity. That was a major crisis for me, and really coming to terms with this grieving process, man. Understanding that this was a loss, this was a death, this was a literal ego death that I went through, coming out of that life as a football player. And I think a lot of guys, myself included, I thought I was going to be prepared. I thought I had it kind of figured out for my life after football. I was going to be a writer. It was going to be simple. Well, it's not that fucking simple. It's not that easy. When you are used to waking up every single day, knowing what you're doing from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night, you come home so tired there's nothing to do but sleep.
Yeah, the itinerary aspect of life after is so much different.
You have to wake up every morning now and create your life.
Right.
What is your life about, man?
Right.
What is it?
And like we were talking about last week, actually, that resonated with some fans. And Jed, might I say, you're not mic'd up today, unfortunately, because we got a lot of good feedback from your insight about the corporate world. Yeah, that's right, you. Yeah, the corporate world and the tech world having no culminating moments that are satisfying in any way.
Yeah.
No, like, boom.
That was a beautiful point you put together there.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And another way to think of that kind of concept is football is now.
Yeah.
The real world is, maybe later.
And it doesn't work for us.
No.
Man. We're like, let's go right now. When's the meeting? Okay.
Yeah, maybe later.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a meeting next week about it, and then we'll push the next item.
You know what? Let's think about it.
Yeah.
We'll think about it first.
We'll get back to you about it.
And then maybe we'll send an email.
Yeah. We'll just
confirm whether or not we'll have the meeting.
Yeah, well, I'll shoot you a text about that email first.
I'll look at some dates that I have, and maybe we'll figure it out.
All right, cool.
Great, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Yeah. And we're all doing this alone, scattered around when we grew up as parts of a team and being, roughed up all the time by your teammates. Just touched.
Nonstop
The physical
contact.
The physical, yeah. I think that's a big thing that they should think about, or part of these like possible transition teams is some kind of physical
martial arts, boxing.
Yeah. Strength,
we've talked about grappling. Maybe jiu-jitsu might be a little bit too much pressure on the joints, the ligaments.
Dude,
my shoulder injuries I've had, I'd be fucked.
My hips would be
fucked. You put me in a fucking one of those triangle chokes, I'd be fucked. I'd have a dislocated shoulder in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, that type of physical contact, maintaining that throughout your life. It's a key. It's a key part of our happiness, of our joy. It brings us a feeling of wholeness.
And strength too. I found that when you maintain your
Yes.
physical strength, you still feel powerful and you still feel present.
Yes.
When that starts to wilt away, all those other energies pop up, or I'm sorry, other injuries pop up,
Yes.
and you just feel like a piece of shit.
I'm a huge fan of the weights.
Yeah.
You know that.
What
And
about, like-
facing resistance?
What about making it competitive where there's a database where all the former players put on what they're maxing and
I
stuff?
love that.
Or fucking what they
Like
did in a
high
course.
school, we had the Iron Man.
Yeah.
You know, whoever lifted the most weights,
Up on the
squatted
wall.
the most,
Yeah.
benched the most. Wouldn't have to be necessarily that. It could be other things. But,
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm not squatting a ton right now.
It could be a
but-
2-mile walk. You know, how fast could you
Absolutely.
do a 2-mile walk?
Yeah. How many steps do you get in a day?
Right.
So what are the transitional keys, man? What are the transitional keys to reestablishing yourself, giving yourself the foundation for life after football?
I think it's tough because everyone leaves in sort of a different situation personally, as far as their family, relationship status. Do they have kids? How many years do they play? So how much money do they have? What the family situation back home is like, and all that. I mean, you and I left the league in very different situations.
Yeah.
I was single,
Yep.
no wife, no girlfriend at the time, no kids,
Yep.
and I had played for 6 years, and I had enough money to be able to step back and just figure it out. And a lot of guys don't have that luxury. You know, you had a family immediately that you had to figure out how to feed.
Yeah.
And so it has to be catered to each individual. But for what worked for me was, I knew I wanted to be writing, and so I really threw myself into it. And I used the money that I made playing football to furnish this pursuit of my new self, knowing fully that it was going to go away eventually, and it's now gone. My football money is basically gone. And yeah, and expect that to happen, guys. I mean, if there's any, or probably aren't any current players listening, but if there are any former
There might
players
be.
listening, I mean,
I
maybe
might have some dudes, some of my old boys might be listening.
that would be great, man, because the money's going to go away. There's a couple guys on every team that'll be set up for life.
You're so young. You're so fucking young, man. When you're in there, you don't realize that money is going to be gone.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of shocking when it happens.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
It's you hit a pit. You hit a bottom.
Right. So the question becomes, how do you make more money? Because you're going to have to make more money. You're going to have to get a new job. So what is that job? And what are your expectations when going into that job? A lot of guys are going to think, okay, I just got done making $700,000 in a year. So I'm not going to take a job for $50,000. No fucking chance.
Yeah, no chance.
Anything
hell.
under $250, I'm not getting up for this.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be until they have less than $100,000 left where they're like, holy fuck.
Maybe
And then 6
I'll
months
take
later,
one of these jobs.
right. But then it can become very unsatisfying because, you know, you expect to be making it. So set your expectations low, I would say, as far as how much money you're making right off the bat. Because as a football player, a professional football player, we didn't start getting paid until many years after we started playing the game.
That's right.
And we didn't start playing the game in order to make money.
Right.
We got really good at something, and then they paid us to do it.
You know, it reminded me our conversation at our production meeting on, what was that, Tuesday?
Yeah.
Great meeting. Thinking back to our last podcast with Kirk, where he talked about the Han Dynasty having an art in your commerce.
Right.
You know, sports are an art.
Yes.
No, it's a physical art form to play sports. Man, we got so good at our art that it started paying the bills.
Exactly.
You know, that's what that whole thing in action is.
Right.
And that's essentially what life is about. It's about finding that art form, whatever it is. For some people, it's business. Some people look at business as an art form. Me, myself, diving into some of these business ventures I have since leaving the league, business is an art form. Communicating with people in a way to get things done, to make things happen, to build a company. It's very much of an artistic form and way of being. But I think it's important that you dive into your passions and your joy, you know, and that's really difficult to find when you've just, essentially had your head cut off.
Yeah, and you're also in a really dark kind of place, so you don't really know where to reach as far as something that can be inspiring. But if you already have a taste for another art,
Right.
then you can reach for that in those hours, and they'll pull you out of it. I had that effect. I started playing guitar kind of at the end of my career, and so when I stopped playing, man, my guitar was one of my best friends. Pick
Yeah.
it up and strum. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, and the writing as well. I mean, if you're a football player and you have any thoughts, or an athlete, and have any thoughts of being a writer, man, you have so much.
Dive into it.
Dive into it because you have so much experience in the physical realm of movement, of power, of violence, of perfection, of precision,
Intuition.
hand-eye coordination that those who write about sports don't understand. And so our literature, our movies about sports, they're missing the elements of nuance that an athlete knows, but these guys don't. And so how do you translate that?
It's powerful.
You got to develop the language. And so, man, if you can be writing in a journal or just any kind of anything as you're going, and it doesn't have to be specifically diving into why I feel about what I'm doing, or my mom, did this, or yesterday I had chicken for lunch. It just be, I believe it should be playing with words, learning different ways of saying something, because
Write down what's going on in your head.
Write down what's going on in your head and find out different ways to say the same thing, because that's what life is. It's wording things differently. You can't say the same thing. If you want someone to pass you the Gatorade bottle in the locker room, you can't say it the way you would in the locker room out here.
Yeah.
You have to say it differently.
Yeah.
And it's just the way people communicate, and you got to tinker with the language.
God. Well, it's interesting that, in sports, in these corporate sports situations, where we are all functioning under this social construct of what it is. Like, we're players, so we go in there, we go into the locker room, we get ready to work out and go to meetings, and they're the coaches, and we listen to them, and, that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it called?
The hierarchy?
No, I'm missing the word of this. It's like you're functioning in this system just because it's a preconceived social construct of how we are supposed to behave around one another. Like, you wouldn't go into a meeting and just tell your coach to go fuck himself. Although some guys have done that.
And then they get
breaks
fired.
a code.
Yeah,
it breaks a massive code. There's a disruption in the system.
I think it's the
There's a word that's maybe really far out there. It's fine.
no, but I think it's the kids, man. Like, when we played football, that's how it was when we were kids.
Yeah.
And so the system never ever changes.
Yeah.
There's no difference in the way meetings are run or plays are run or the huddles everything's the same between an 8-year-old and a 30-year-old if they're both playing football.
Yeah.
The hierarchy does not change. This 30-year-old who's the master sensei
Right.
in the world
In his art form.
is listening to fucking Joe Schmo over here tell him why he did it wrong.
Who
And
might not have ever played.
maybe not. And the number of people they got to get interviewed by and humor with their interviews and say, oh yeah, I really should have caught that ball, Ed, that type of stuff shouldn't have to exist. But the way you sell the game is, I don't know. I mean, you make people believe that, I don't know why.
We're off topic.
Fuck
Let's
it,
get
man.
back on. Here we go. So it's this loss of identity. It's about finding a new art form, finding a new passion, finding your joy again. And whether that can begin with writing, it can begin with a musical instrument, painting, sculpting. Fucking go to Color Me Mine and do yourself a favor.
Acting.
Get into acting. I love acting. Get into comedy. We're such physical artists, guys. The pro football players.
I think the comedy would be good because you can be physical up on stage, acting as well.
Amazing.
Moving around.
Comedy is one that it really speaks to me that you've said multiple times. Because I think back, man, there were so many funny guys.
Oh, in the locker room, man.
It was hysterical. All we did was laugh.
And we have a lot of funny stories.
It's amazing.
And we can make people uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's a lot of very uncomfortable, funny stories.
Right.
So you got to find an art form. Then what? You got to get your food in order, man. You can't let your eating go to shit. You can't let your body go to shit. you know?
That's really hard, man, because you have no incentive not to.
Accept your own life.
I know, but that's such a nebulous kind of thing.
It's not, though.
It is to someone who's used to looking at an itinerary and tell them exactly where to be at every minute of the day, and fed and transported, and they wash your clothes.
But I don't think anybody wants to feel like shit.
No.
You know?
That's
and
what,
you can help yourself.
That's where the drugs
not
come
feel
in.
Like shit. The drugs and alcohol you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about the the opposite side of the coin.
No, I hear you, man. But that's not sustainable. You know, you spiral into death.
Agreed.
Essentially, you go into your death spiral, and there you go. See you later.
It's hard to reach people that are inside that spiral. How do we reach them?
Stick your hand in there, dude.
You know how hard it is to break a habit when you become a man?
Yeah.
It's very hard. And the more it gets entrenched, whether this is nutritional, the foods that these people, that we all like to eat, the things we like to drink, the things that we like to watch, the places we like to go on our bike route.
Well, I'm talking about...
No, I know. I'm just on another topic. Going a different direction.
Yeah. No. I know what you're saying.
No, but I want to continue and make the larger point. If you will cede the microphone to me, sir.
Sorry.
Please let me make the point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying a lot of this has to do with getting a man to change what he's doing, which is so fucking hard. To get him to change what he eats, to do the healthier thing. How do you incentivize that? Because telling me I'm going to survive isn't enough to a guy who doesn't give a fuck if he does or not. And so how do we make life worth fucking living again? That's the rub. To make nothing. I mean, that's the hard part.
I'm trying to break down the tools. I'm trying to break down
right,
how
so
we
fucking do it. No, I'm just kidding.
You get your art form. You get your nutrition in order.
Right.
Look, man, if you don't want the help, fucking go die. That's it. I don't, that's what I'm saying.
That's what we're up against. This is what I'm telling you.
And I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you 100%. And my what I have to say to that is the people who want this type of help are gonna get it and go seek it out. Or the people that want to be better, the people that want to feel good and live a healthy life, those people will seek it out. The guys who are fucking just want to feel like shit and want to be depressed and spiral into a lot of self-loathing and hatred.
But don't you want to find a way to create a love bomb to drop on top of their house that will coat their sensibilities
what I'm trying to do,
and pull
bro.
them out of it, man? We got to cast a wide net.
So you want to go in there and pull them out?
I don't know. I know a lot of my...
You're just challenging everything I say.
No, I'm talking about...
You're saying real shit.
I'm talking
about
about guys who you know and who I know who that's how they're living right now.
Dude, I've had guys reach out to me.
Exactly. I know guys that aren't going to ask for help.
Yeah.
And who need it.
Well, that's sad. It is sad. That's a sad truth that there are going to be a lot of guys who won't ask for it, who don't think they need it, don't want it, whatever. I think that's a sad truth. How do we... that's something that goes back to this thing of you got to be able to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, before you help other people. And in this situation, you've got to be willing to go get the help, or go seek it out. You've got to be able to help yourself first.
Jed has highlighted a quote on his computer screen that says, "We engage in dysfunctional behavior even if we are aware of its effects, because it is comfortable." Did you say that, point. Jed, or did
who? I don't remember. Okay, you just had that.
Psychologist.
All right.
Sounds like like a quack.
That makes a lot of sense, and it takes a lot of bravery and guts to challenge that feeling of being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
I'll give you an easy example of my own personal. When I'm writing, I have trained it in my mind that I need to drink coffee while I'm writing. And so if I'm writing for 4, 5, 6 hours, I drink a shit ton of coffee. I don't even want that much coffee. Coffee makes me kind of jittery. It makes my palms sweat, and still I keep drinking it because it's part of this process of writing and that I think I need. I don't really think I need that.
No, I bet you'd feel way better if you just stuck with the 1 or 2 cups.
Exactly.
You know.
And just drank water and whatever. I
Have
don't know.
you tried bulletproof coffee? Today I turned you on to the Alpha Brain.
Yeah.
I'll get you a bulletproof coffee.
It's butter coffee, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, our brains are fucked up, man. We got to be doing everything possible to feed our brains the proper fuel.
That stuff's good for the brain?
Yes. It's these good fats. It's fucking, I'm telling you what, man, it's got my brain lit. These mushrooms, the bulletproof coffee, this keto-based diet. It's essentially, man, I believe that it's making me better, making me healthier, making my mental clarity stronger, my focus, my acuity, my ability to go find old memories and create new memories. I think that my cognitive function is, I don't think I'm the same person I was when I left the league.
Do you believe that you're healing your brain?
I do.
So do you believe that CTE can be healed by the individual with proper diet, meditation, all that?
I believe that it can. I believe that we can. We can heal ourselves.
I think so too. I think so too, or at least find a way to make them not symptomatic. Because
right. And that's the thing.
You're right, exactly.
Right.
We probably all have some bruising in our brains.
Of course,
from smashing heads.
Definitely
that's what happens.
Do. Yeah.
But I don't feel symptomatic.
Right. You don't feel. You can function.
Yeah.
You can love. You can have relationships. You can think. You can go do things. You can drive a car. You know where you're going most of the day.
I can drive a car. I do get rather upset at Uber drivers.
Yeah, I know. Well, driving in LA, man, it's a practice of Zen.
Yeah, it actually is.
I've
gotten a lot better.
You just have to, you know, because it's like people are on there. There's that asshole. He's driving, looking at his fucking phone,
FaceTiming while on the road.
But it doesn't do me any good to be pissed off about it. But you're right, man. That's what it's about. Yeah, we all have scar tissue and damage, but can we ride the dragon? Can we, live a life full of joy and happiness regardless? And I think the answer is yes. I believe the answer is yes. And it's not easy. This is not something that, freedom is through discipline, vigilance. It requires vigilance to acquire freedom. And for us, what does that mean? That means getting our diet in order. I'm not saying you have to eat any specific way. I think that each human body requires different things. For some people, being a vegan is really a great thing. I don't think that necessarily works for me. I really don't. I think that my body needs red meat.
Is that because of your
to
size?
keep my immune system healthy. I think it's based on blood type.
So do you think there can be really big guys who maintain their size while being vegan?
I think guys are doing it. Yeah, I think there are guys doing it. And then you've got people on the other side of the spectrum. I believe you should eat a balanced diet. For me, it's restricting a lot of processed carbohydrates. I don't eat any bread, no pasta, no potatoes. I do eat some sweet potatoes, but I keep the starches to a minimum, no beans or rice.
What?
Lots of vegetables. And look, man, you can cheat. Once you get it cleaned for 80 to 90% of the time, then yeah, you go and you have some pizza someday. Yeah. You have a little ice cream. You go and have some beans and rice. I love Mexican food. It's one of my favorite foods on the planet.
Me too.
But man, I feel fucking good. I eat clean meats. I eat, freshwater fish. I eat fucking, grass-fed meat. And
the way you feel based on that diet feels better than eating the food that you don't eat anymore.
If I ate breads,
what I'm saying is the high you get from eating a fucking food that you like the taste is not as good as the feeling you get from not eating it. Is that what you're saying?
That shit tastes like shit to me.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that shit? I mean,
processed foods, sugary stuff.
Do you like a burrito?
I haven't eaten a burrito in decades.
Cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger, I'd go no bun.
Pizza?
Pizza, I love pizza.
So when you go to Mexican food, what do you get?
Tacos. So I'll do like corn tortillas.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's once in a while.
What about fruit?
Not a lot of fruit. Don't eat a lot of fruit.
So basically lean meat and vegetables.
And fats. Avocados, nuts, coconut oil, and mushrooms.
I love it.
I keep it clean, and my brain, my cognitive function, my thinking ability, my focus, my memory, my clarity, it all is maintained. It gets better even. And I believe it's I directly attribute it to my diet, my use of cannabis.
Yeah, I was about to say, where does the cannabis fit in here? Because
cannabis for us, it's essential. It's an essential nutrient, at this stage for us. Guys who have been playing football, anyone who's been through trauma, which is basically everybody at this point. Cannabis, getting extra cannabinoids into your system.
Why is that good?
Well, it helps us manage inflammation naturally. It helps our bodies manage the inflammation naturally. It helps reduce anxiety, depression. But all of it, I could stop at reduces inflammation. Chronic inflammation is, the number one cause of illness and disease. And right there, cannabis helps to reduce and maintain, positive, not positive, but a low inflammation in the body.
I think that's true too. I mean, for me personally.
Look, do you take anything?
No.
You don't take anything?
I don't.
I don't take anything.
I don't. Not even Advil. Not even anything. I used to take a lot of Advil when I played.
Yeah,
every day.
A ton.
6 to practice.
I was taking Indocin and Cataflam. They don't even know what the fuck these things do to people's bodies. Just dissolving our liver and kidneys just to fucking get through the day. But look, I think,
So
I think that cannabis can be, really at the fundamental, reference point of our medicine and how we heal ourselves.
And it can also lead to, sorry to interrupt.
No.
But it can also lead to super cheaper healthcare.
Yeah.
You're talking about, there should be a former player healthcare system that encompasses the whole NFL veteran community.
Yeah.
That they all kind of go to the same entities to get their shit. And cannabis can be one of those things.
Yeah.
And it would be much cheaper, man. The NFL, I think, could solve all these problems by creating one healthcare system that oversees it all. The current and former players.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, but I think a lot of these lawsuits would go away for them. Because, like you said, I don't take any medication, and neither do you.
Yep.
And so you're a very cheap patient at this point. You're very cheap to insure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys would have a similar outcome if they were allowed to do that.
So then the other thing I do, meditation. That's the next piece. Food. I'd say exercise. We've talked about it. Exercise definitely keeps my mind clear, keeps me feeling happy and fulfilled in my day. That physical exercise, movement, sweating, whatever it might be. You don't have to go kill yourself in the weight room, but go for a hike, go to a yoga class, whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stay moving.
Stay moving.
The more you stay moving, the better you'll feel, is what I found.
You flush the body, the toxins.
And we like to be in motion. I think my brain works better when I'm in motion.
Absolutely.
I go for walks. I come up with ideas. I'm on my bike. I come up with lines,
Yeah.
If I get too cooped up in my place working on something, I go work out. All of a sudden, I have a new rush of energy, a new perspective on the problem I had in my head. A lot of the demons that were circling you when you were sitting on your couch, they disappear when you go outside.
Absolutely.
And just get moving.
Move through it.
But there are so many things to entice you to just stay glued to the screen because it's hypnotic.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hypnotic.
Well, think about how many years ago, it wasn't that long ago, that TVs were not commonplace. I mean, TVs are in every single home, in multiple rooms, multiple televisions per household. I mean, how many decades ago was that totally, a luxury to have a TV?
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Oh, my father grew up in a house without a TV.
Exactly. Even my early childhood, we didn't have a TV. I mean, I know TVs existed, but my parents were just not really into it.
Right.
They weren't interested in what the hell was going on TV as far as while we're at home.
It's a cultural obsession that I actually believe will dissipate. Do you really think people will be watching TV in 5,000 years?
I don't think so. I think it's dying off. I'm already thinking about getting rid of my TV and getting rid of unplugging the house.
Well, these phones, man, people will be able to hack into them and get all of your information off your goddamn phone.
Information.
You're making yourself very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Here, get everything that's the most valuable to you, every number you have, and put it on.
Let's put it all in this little place.
And then put it in this, and then take it with you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
That's stupid. And now they have cameras. Jed, I mean, you would know more about this than I. But they have cameras like built into TVs so they can watch back at the people who are watching the TV.
Watching us,
and they have microphones on our smart TVs that they can turn on remotely
whenever they want.
Now, why would they want to know this stuff? I don't know.
Knows?
Yeah, but still, it's just weird, man.
It's just people behind it, which is the creepy part.
Yeah.
You know? So meditation becomes another key point because it's about centering. It's about coming back to, square one. It's about reconnecting with your senses and finding that balance in yourself with all this chaos and craziness that's going around. Meditation is a huge part of my life, man. I do it twice a day. I'm really rocking right now with twice a day. I do my best to get 20 minutes per session. And man, I come out of there feeling like a new man. Mind clear, ready to receive the cosmic download, ready to give love and gratitude into the world, spread joy. That's what it's about, man. That's what this is all about. We are all connected. Technology at first was a distraction, but what it's really doing is helping us realize how connected we are, that we are all one, that we all depend on each other. It's fascinating.
I think so. And I think this has been a good pod.
Yeah, let's cap it, huh?
Yeah, I think we should cap it there. We tried to discuss today how to move on, how to get into the real world from this gnarly experience of playing sports or doing anything in life where you're trying to move on from that last identity and discover yourself anew. Pick up an art, meditate, eat well, exercise, love those around you, and stay moving.
Well said, man. Check us out on iTunes, guys. Subscribe. We're also on TuneIn and Stitcher for those of you who are non-Apple users. Give us a review. Rate us. Star us. Send us an email. We'd love to hear your feedback. Love some questions from you, what you guys want to hear about. Any questions you have on our experiences, things that we've been through that you're more curious about. Love to hear from you. Check us out online at www.mindfulwarriorpodcast.com. Mindful Warrior Podcast on Instagram, Mindful Pod on Twitter, and the Mindful Warrior Podcast Facebook page as well, if you want to check us out there. So thank you guys again. Great show, guys.
Great show. Great show.
See you all next time.
Adios, muchachos.
Thanks for listening to the Mindful Warrior Podcast, brought to you by Athletes for Care, a health and wellness resource for athletes of all ages. Don't miss out on Nate's books, Slow Getting Up and Fantasy Man,